Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and tonight I'm joined by Gregory and Dayna. On time, Dayna. I didn't even realize it said that.
Because I'm on time.
She is. Of course she is. I was like, we need to get a new TV. No, we need to be on time. And I'm like, she won't be.
She was early. She was early.
You know what? I would have deserved it. I would have taken it like a champ. I would have said, that's right. You're right.
Well, we are back for another edition of My So-Called Life. Tonight we're discussing episodes 6 and 7. So I'll roll the credits and we'll jump right into it. So I really like these two episodes. The first one is called The Substitute. It didn't go the way that I thought it would, but based off the title, I thought it was going to be a whole I'm in love with the substitute situation. There was a little I feel like there may have been like a little crush, but that wasn't the focus of it, really. So we've seen this class because hasn't there been substitutes, or like remember there was like a teacher that came in and was like, "Where's your teacher?" and they were just like going wild, whatever they wanted.
Yeah, apparently English is not the one for like everybody.
So this substitute teacher comes in and he acts like he doesn't care. He's like, "Do whatever you want. You want to stay? Stay. You want to go? Go. I don't care what you write. It's crap."
Throws it out the window.
He's aloof. He's an aloof teacher. He's cool. Too cool to be here.
And that kind of like intrigues them and gets their attention and gets them to kind of settle down. And Brian, of course, has to be teacher's pet and be like, before she quit, we were doing this for the lit. And you see back like, oh.
You leave my boy Brian alone. He's a good boy and he wants to do right by his class. You leave him alone. He's my good boy Brian. But let's just say that teacher played that class. He played that class like a fiddle. He had that like literally.
Yeah. So he's like, "You can leave if you want." And Jordan's like, "Really?" So he goes to leave. He's like, "Yeah, as long as you don't mind us talking about you behind your back when you're on." So then he sits.
I love that. It was perfect.
But prior to all this happening, Angela has her little, inner monologue about how it's so weird to think that teachers have like lives outside of school.
Don't look at me. This is my outside of school life.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if any of your students, like, do you think your students watch? Hey, students.
Yeah, like they're not human beings. Like they don't have
lives
outside of the classroom.
I remember feeling that way, like ever seeing a teacher in the wild, like line at like Taco Bell or something. Right. I would be like, I remember feeling like, oh. But still, like, come on. These teachers literally do whatever it takes to get the class going, to get people engaged, and the teenagers suck. So, like, for her to be so judgy towards, like, all these people that are in her life that are trying to help better her life, I hate it. Again, it makes me hate Angela. I don't like Angela.
She becomes fixated on the fact that he does not match his socks. And it becomes like almost like a sexual thing for Rayanne. She's like, "Did you hear about the socks?" And she like, her and Ricky are sitting in on a class that's not
I have
theirs.
to see the socks.
Yes. And then does he not do it, or he doesn't do like the black-white combo, and Rayanne almost like loses her shit one day. She's like, "Did you see the socks?"
Did you see the socks? Oh my God.
But also that's not their class. So whatever class they're supposed to be in, they're cutting to sit in this English class and do the work for the English class.
Doing the work.
That's what I'm saying. Teenagers are the worst. They're literally the worst. I couldn't imagine being a teacher in this school. I'd be so mad. Like, I would be like rolling in, be like, "Why are you guys here? You're not even supposed to be here. Like, you're not even doing my work, the work I assigned you."
That actually does happen a lot. I had a student one time cut another class come to my class, do my work. And we just like behind the scenes, all the teachers and I just made a pact with each other, and we're like, this is the grade.
Oh my god.
Here's his grade. I graded his, I literally was like this, I graded his work. Here you go. And we just left because it is so the psychology of it. It's like we just don't question it because that's actually the norm. So we go with it.
Oh my god. I don't know how you guys do it, because I probably would have had my own postal events.
So we already said this, but the teacher throws whatever they wrote prior to him being there out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes them write something new from the heart, from inside them, what they're feeling.
Right. Like he does the reverse psychology goading kind of deal, and whatever pulls it out of them, and in good 1994 writing, the script was written. So they immediately bend to his whim and write incredible things.
He makes them take each other's papers out of like a bowl or a knapsack or something.
A paper bag.
And read them anonymously. Were you having flashbacks to Jack reading his poem on Dawson's Creek? Because I was like triggered for this.
Okay, so it just be because, again, watching these back to back to each other, but I feel like Dawson's Creek has ripped off a ton of storylines from this show.
Really?
Like, it feels like some of the stuff that happens to Dawson and other characters happens in the show. Like, this is like a direct parallel. Like, there's been other stuff when I was just like, oh, that happened in Dawson's Creek too. Weird.
That happens 4 years later.
Yeah.
One of
a writer for the show.
The thing that Angela had wrote, and I only pulled it up because it actually kind of was a beautiful little poem. Once upon a time there lived a girl. She slept in a lovely cottage made of gingerbread and candy. She was always asleep. One morning she woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And like that really, I really think that that correlates with Angela's life, correlates with what the English teacher is attempting to do to them. And it's also this coming of age awakening of this particular age of kids that are so, right now, they're still extremely self-centered, painfully self-centered.
So one of these poems is racy. And Rayanne wants to take credit for it because everybody thinks she wrote it.
Of course she does.
But it actually ends up being Sharon's.
Yes. Which is interesting, because I originally thought maybe it might have been Ricky.
I thought it was Ricky too. I thought it was like Ricky describing his crush on Jordan, because I feel like it's been pretty obvious he has a crush on Jordan, and he's like living vicariously through Angela.
Yeah. Absolutely. Pushing things along. Yes.
How did she find out? How did Rayanne like deduct that it was Sharon that wrote it? Because she was making out with her boyfriend in the hallway, all like Lacey.
She was a little voyeurish, and she was a little, I guess you have to participate in it in order to understand what some of the unspoken languages of the lips were saying. That she probably was like, it was you, wasn't it?
Well, like, because while she was watching them make out, she could tell Sharon was really getting into it, which, like, who doesn't when they're making out or whatever. But, like, and then eventually she just straight up asks her, like, y'all guys do it yet? Kind of thing.
So this was the first scene out of these 2 episodes where it's like, are these 2 going to become secret friends? Because, like, while they're having this conversation, Sharon at first is like, "Why are you talking to me? Like, you don't even like me." She's like, "I don't like you."
Why are we in the same room together? I don't understand this.
And I like how they both look under the stalls to make sure nobody's listening.
Listening to their secrets and listening to the fact that they're talking to each other. It really is. It's a very. It could really almost go both ways with that one.
And
listen, I get it. It's the way girls are with friendships sometimes. Like, you have to be very careful. There's a lot of jealousy on a lot of different levels.
So Sharon doesn't want people to know that she wrote it, and Rayanne wants people to think that she wrote it. So they kind of agree that Rayanne will take credit. And
yes. Which is, absolutely perfect.
And
then there is just a fun fact trivia, or not even a trivia, but a goof that'll show up in the next episode when the parents are discussing after they read the poetry, and they were. I don't know, dare to say they were slightly titillated by it. Like, they were just like kind of like scared of it, but at the same time they were like, coming of age.
It's well written.
Yeah, like
yeah.
They were like, do you think this is Angela? You think Angela wrote it? And she was just like, we don't have a basement.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So because they have a printing company, that's
what they normally do. That must be their thing that they do.
They were going to print these in the school's lit mag, and before they do it, the mother meets up with first the father goes to meet up with him, thinking he's not going to like this guy, but he ends up liking him. He sees him trying to help Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's where we find out that Jordan is dyslexic. Well, we don't know that he's dyslexic, but that he can't read.
Yeah.
Because
it makes a lot of sense.
Learning disabled.
Yeah. Well, because when Jordan leaves, he's like, how did nobody realize all these years that kid can't read? And like Angela's father's there for that.
Yeah. Well, he kind of like, he's like asked to hang back because he I guess picked him out from the whole group. Mm-hmm. When he asked him to hang back, we kind of get to the scene where Graham walks in and he's trying to get him to sound out the word, just read, if you could read the word or whatever, and he's giving it a try, and Jordan's just nah, and he kind of gets angry or fake angry, motivation angry, I guess, in a way, and then tells him just to get out of there, and then he's just super pissed because obviously everyone around him has failed him,
right?
To get him the help he needed, be able to read even with whatever is going on, because we don't really know at the time. We just know that he's struggling to read. And in a sense,
while we were watching this, I was like, when did Dangerous Minds come out? Because this feels like it's a parody, an homage to Dangerous Minds, or To Sir with Love or something, with the teacher.
Yeah, maybe.
Fun fact, To Sir with Love is my favorite movie ever.
Oh, that's nice. Yay.
So Angela, she's so insulting without even knowing it. They're having dinner. Danielle is, talking. Nobody's paying attention to her about her Girl Scout cookies,
which was the wrong season for Girl Scout cookies, but I digress.
Yeah.
And Angela's just going on and on about this teacher, and she's like, it's just so nice to have an adult that I respect. And the parents look at each other oh, okay, well, I guess that's good.
They were okay, what about us?
Fuck us, I guess, right?
Fuck you, bitch.
Well, okay. So I don't know. Do you guys watch anime at all?
No.
No, probably not.
I watch.
So there you have. Well, okay, so this kind of happens in a lot of animes. So any of my anime viewers, you'll know what I mean. They have these moments kind of where words will turn into swords and stab the character.
Oh, okay.
As a metaphorical sense.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Her words are literally cutting in their soul. Oh God. Ow. I'm just gonna leave. I'll leave.
So the mom then goes to see the teacher to discuss the more racy poem and it not being printed. And he's a little bit flirty with her. He's like, "Oh, lucky guy," like referring to her husband being married to her. And she's just kind of like, "Thank you." And they kind of have like a back and forth, and he kind of wins her over. And she's just like, "All right, I guess I'll print it."
Yeah, I mean, in both instances, I feel like he made a perfectly salient like observations and points to like why the parents are having an issue to begin with. Like, what is it about this that's so incredibly bad? Like, you're not supposed to like. Why don't you let the kids like explore who they want to be, like, and how? Why are you going to police their thoughts, kind of thing?
Right.
And it's like, it's exactly what teachers are supposed to be doing. The barrier between them and their parents, giving room for kids to be able to grow into their own people, right? I mean,
censorship,
right.
especially to an English teacher, is extremely important to protect. And as a literary magazine person who prints things, mom has to be careful with that word too.
Right.
Well, she does come at him and saying like, "Well, they're your children, and we're adults." And it's kind of like, sure, but at the same time, like these aren't too far away from what we would consider adulthood. So it's kind of like, when is there going to be a time? There's always like, when is there going to be a time when they can actually experience in a safe environment expressing these thoughts and feelings than here? Like, where else is it better than that? Like, especially when we have the Garvels. I mean, there would have been a great instance of a lesson on how to learn how to edit for different audiences and things like that, where like there's always going to be parameters in life that you have to live up to professionally and like personally. So that would have been one of those things.
Rayanne was wearing one of her bra thing again, only it was like under a dress that was like zipped down in front, and I was like, there goes again.
Love it.
Also, Ricky was wearing a headband in one of these episodes, and I was like, in my school, they would have made him take that off. That would have been seen as like a gang thing.
And in my school, that's all we wore.
Was headbands?
Yeah, hold on one second. I can probably find it right here.
No, not behind
me. So we used to, no, that was,
But he was wearing it over
like a sweatband?
So
or a bandana.
A bandana. I would fold it up and wear it here and then push it up. And then my hair would stick out.
Okay.
Then
Jane Fonda.
Yeah, and then there were, once or twice.
I visualize it.
But when we would do that, we like, it was our fashion choice, but it was like you were a dirtbag biker if you did that. So stupid.
I mean, like,
we were so stupid.
Yeah, but like even like remember when like having a certain ear piercing meant a certain thing, and then like the bracelet colors. I remember back in the day we used to have like, if you had a certain set of bracelet colors or a certain amount or in a certain style, they all meant something. I mean, I got into a lot of trouble for having like a metal chain, like one of those wallet chains.
Yeah, I had those too.
Yeah. We pushed boundaries as a kid, like that's at that age specifically. And everything.
But it was fashion. Like I didn't do those things to make a statement, even though a statement was being made. But like I was doing it because it was I was pushing the fashion envelope. Cool. I was an artist.
Yeah.
So the mag gets printed and it's distributed throughout school, and then the principal gets his hands on it, and he like,
all the secretaries are like,
allegedly he's gotten his hand on every copy somehow.
Just taking it out of kids' hands down the hallway.
And has asked the teacher to come see him in his office, and the kids are like, "Where's the teacher?" And Jordan notices him like walking out, or the principal comes in and says that they're going to be getting a new substitute, and then Jordan sees him walking out, And
this is like the first time I think Jordan actually has
spoke a sentence.
Yes, a few sentences.
When he's like, "This is the best teacher I ever had," and everybody's looking at him like
one after the other.
It really was. They were like 2 sentences.
I mean, to be honest, these 2 episodes was probably the most we've seen of Jordan in general make any sort of coherent statements to get to know him as a person, like at all.
Right.
Like most we've learned about him.
So Angela's really upset that the teacher, as far as they know, got fired. We find out because the father goes to see the principal to defend this teacher and like discuss the positive impact he had on the kids and on Angela. And we find out that he wasn't fired. He quit because he was served with back child support papers. And apparently he abandoned his family.
He's like, I would rather quit my job and potential paycheck than deal with that. Or he's leaving to deal with it. I don't know.
Right.
But it kind of puts all that flirtiness with Angela's mom into a little bit of different light, eh? You're kind of like, oh, is this how we do this? Is that where we are?
The next time we see Angela, she finds out where he lives to go talk to him about it. I was like, huh. Yeah. I was like, I'm really surprised we just skipped over her being told this, because I feel like that's something she would have overreacted to and been like, you're lying. He's not like that. Like, it just. But I guess to move the story forward, they didn't have time for it.
We can't have her indignation about regular life and people all the
time. And he gives her this whole speech about leaving a bad situation, like getting out, rather than dealing with that. And I guess she realizes that he's not who she thought he was. And he keeps saying this episode, wake up. And even in that moment, he says, wake up. And he gives her a ride home. And of course, Brian's on his bike and he sees her get out of the car. So he's like, did you like have sex with him or something?
Brian! Oh, God. He's trying so hard. Now, I mean, I think what keeps happening, and Angela hasn't quite put the 2 and 2 together yet, is that, like, he's a human being, and his whole lesson was that, like, life is like the people in your life, the adults in your life, they're all human beings just like you. You haven't quite learned that lesson that we're all like creatures that can fail and be awful and good, and like there is no like one way or the other. It is just the way you are, like the way you choose to go, like you choose to walk. It's just that's as simple as that. And she's still stuck in that like very immature, like, oh, my teachers are just my teachers. They're always going to be these people of authority. They're going to be lame. They can never be anything else. Like everything is in a specific box that is like, there's no crossover.
So Angela's parents have a talk with her, and they basically have the whole, you need to pick and choose your battles and compromise and like basically, decide if this is the hill you want to die on.
which kudos to the parents. Like the parents are really trying. They're really trying to put themselves in her shoe. They're really trying to forgive her at every sentence, because some of the sentences cut. Some of her sentences.
She just said that she never didn't have any adults that she respected until this teacher showed up. And like she's had her own parents be there to give her so much grace leading up to this. Like if it was my parents and I got they saw some of the stuff that I write, they would have like asked me 100 million times, did you write this? I need to know, did you write this? Are you having sex? Tell me if you're having sex. Like, blah, blah, blah. That would be the only thing they would care about. And just, I would get none of that. So like, that's why it's really hard for me to like Angela or feel any sort of sympathy or empathy towards her. Cause it's like, you have everything going for you. You have 2 parents that love you a ton. They give you tons of grace. You have a sister who cares. You have a next door neighbor who also cares. Best friend who cares. Yeah, like there's so many people who care about you in your life. and like how much shit you throw in their face is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It'll be embarrassing to think about when she's an adult. Oh, that was horrific.
So the students are basically warned that if they're caught distributing this issue, that they'll be suspended. And Angela takes it upon herself to make copies, Xerox copies, and hand them out at school.
Which is probably the first.
She decided that this is the hill she wants to die on.
So like think about all the other stuff. All of the other stuff that she everything else was just rolling her eyes. Everything else was angst and anxiety. This was actually the first thing that she was passionate about, and the first thing that she was willing to get on top of that hill for.
Yeah. Well, and put stuff on the line for, like, put herself out there for, like, you know.
So she gets called into the principal's office. Her parents come. The mom's like, "This is going to be on your like permanent record."
Where has that permanent record gone? I'd love to know. Where's my permanent record? You know what I mean? Like, where does it go?
Again,
high school.
Claire Danes, kudos to you, because you did a great job. I hate Angela.
Well,
yeah.
So the principal is basically like reading off the list of things she did wrong. I didn't even think about the fact that she used the school's like supplies and like copy machines to like make these copies.
Well, he treated it like a cop would. Like anytime you get caught up into some mess, all the charges are linked to all the equipment you use, the people you talk to, accessories, all that nonsense. It's the same shit. It's the same shit.
And she's basically willing to like get suspended, and he basically is like, well, since this isn't you, this is your first offense, I'm not going to suspend you. And she's like mad that she didn't like get the punishment that she wanted.
I'm wondering if like she got, I don't know if she was trying to do it for like, she's doing a lot of stuff for clout, like bad girl clout.
Yes, and that's why I'm kind of not on board with the whole like this was something she believed in. I feel like she just wanted that clout. She wanted that edge, like, oh, I got suspended because I did this thing. Like I'm a bad girl.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Jordan will pay attention to me if I do this.
Oh my god! Yeah,
I'm like,
a lot of it feels like that's what that motivation was, like in a lot of things she's doing, but it's hard to tell because there was a difference in her in this episode from previous episodes. She was like trying to be different. It's like the little break in the class a little bit. Like I was telling you before, like she keeps having these moments of extreme clarity in the haze of hormones and teenage angst. That she breaks out of it and then falls right back in. I mean, because out of the episode, she walks away with taking the deal. So,
of course.
Oh, there was something I want to note because I feel like we've lightly touched on this, that Angela and the father know that each other knows what was going on with him and this girl, but they're not talking about it. They kind of like talk around it. And I feel like him saying to her in the office before they saw the principal, mentioning like, I would never leave this family, I'm always going to be here for you, was like him
talking, assuring her and recognizing that
they both know what was happening there. And I was like, there it is again.
Missed that. I might want to rewatch that because I always thought that she knew something. It's more like the mystery is about like how much of what he thinks she heard did she hear.
Yeah.
How long was she standing there during that conversation?
Yeah, he like made a point to say that to her before they actually met up. They went into the principal's office, and I was like, oh,
right.
Okay. Right. I think that was it for that episode. I really liked that episode.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
It's pretty crazy
that you wanted to mention on that?
No, I just keep thinking that like we're getting there with certain characters and we're like pretty deep into the season already. And I don't feel like I know enough about anyone except for Angela and maybe her parents, maybe
Yeah.
Like that everyone else feels so like a black hole with like little bits and crumbs here and there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering where it's going.
Well, on that note, we open up the next episode. They're on a field trip to a museum that looked very familiar, and I'm like, have we been there? Because it looked like the Met or something.
Yeah, like 100. We've only been there 127 times. The Metropolitan Museum in the Americana wing.
So going off what you were saying about we only know like little things about them, they made a point to show that Rayanne was drinking out of a flask, and I feel like we've seen, like, obviously she got blackout drunk in the pilot, and I'm like, is she always drunk? Like, is she coming to school drunk? Is this a thing they're going to explore more at some point in one of these episodes? Like, teenage.
I'm wondering. Yeah, she was getting that vibe, and that, like, who gets, like Ricky said, oh, this is what she does.
Yeah,
like, this is a thing. Like,
right.
They already established for her that's a normal thing, but we have not seen her be like that since then. So I don't know if Angela has an effect on that in any way, like proximity. I don't know.
Angela has written like a 5-page note to Jordan.
BF, no, what was it? BFF forever.
Oh my god.
Oh.
She lets Rayanne read it.
And then you have to, it's all folded. It's
like
probably
origami.
folded like a triangle.
Yep.
Stop lying. We all did this.
Yes.
We all written like 5-page love letters to confess our feelings, to get over them.
But
right? We've done it.
But
get over them.
Did we, or would we have done it after he flat out was like took back the whole "we should have sex since everybody thought we did," and then him being like, "Oh, like I'm not that attracted to you anyway." Like, will we still write a 5-page love note? To that
yes.
Yes, absolutely yes. Because toxicity at that age is like, oh, chef's kiss. Like they can't.
Yes.
The more toxic, the better. Give me more of the troublesome. So I can fix him.
Yes.
Yes.
My love could save him.
My love could save him.
So Rayanne gets distracted by a hot guard and is like flirting with him and is like, "You want my number?" or whatever, and she loses the note.
Like the minute Angela was like, "Don't tell anyone about this note," I think I said as I watched, I was like, and then she proceeded to tell everyone about this note.
So Rayanne is freaking out and she's telling her that she lost the note, but she's like, "But on the plus side, I'm going out with the guard." Like, and I think I heard Greg say, "God, I love her."
She's doing it for herself. I'll tell you that, man. She's getting whatever she needs. I'm here for it.
And she's getting what she wants. Like, she is trying to figure out what word I want to use without using the wrong word to make it sound like a positive, negative kind of deal. But she really is in control of her body. She's in control of her body, and she wants what she wants, and she gets what she gets, and she is not shy, bashful, or remorseful of it, except for the slight hint when her and the other girlfriend in the bathroom about talking about the kiss and how it was passionate and she wasn't receiving passion from it. Like, that was kind of like, that was where you almost kind of got the moment where you're like, oh, okay, she's now just doing it she's in the motion of it.
Yeah, she's giving like a mix between, like, forgive me for the Dawson's Creek reference, she's giving like if she was a mix between Abby and Jen. Like, she has some self-control, but she's running from something that is not pleasant for her.
Right.
So she does all the wild shit to kind of be like smoke and mirrors, like, look over here. Yeah. Where like the bad shit really actually happened over here. But no, look over here. Like, look, I'm drinking or I get really flirty, promiscuous and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And like, a part of her can be still very freeing in that sense, but at the same time, you can feel it's a smoke and mirror show. If that's what it feels like for me, anyway. Like, it's just, this is all a facade for whatever's going on in her life. That, again, as Angela has not even given a moment's thought towards, like, at all. Like, all they care about is what's happening to her.
Right.
Or that's the only reference we get is about what's going on with Angela. Nobody else.
So Angela thinks that Jordan found it. Wait, how does she think he found it? Or he returns the note to her, so that's how she found it.
Yes.
So then she's just like, oh, I wrote this about my ex-boyfriend who died.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh! Like, she has like an inner moment where she's like, I wish I had a button that just shut me up. I was like, girl, all of us do. All of us wish you had a button in your head that shut you up. Like, just shut up. Stop talking.
It's just like, and I just used your name to help me deal with the trauma of him dying.
Like, oh god, the embarrassment. It's so embarrassing.
And he's like,
oh god,
I didn't read it. And she's like, you expect me to believe that you didn't read a 5-page love note to you? Like, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I read like some word, but like I didn't. And she like really freaks out. And then I was actually surprised that she put 2 and 2 together because she's so self-centered. That she was like, oh my god, you can't read. I was like, wow, I did not expect her to go there.
I think.
But again, I guess to progress the story.
I was going to say, I think the writers needed to progress the story a little bit.
Well, she's like, what, is there too many big words in it for you? Like,
he was like, I love how she goes. And she's like,
I feel like she really went from like bumbling idiot to like super pissed like at him in like a heartbeat. It felt like she went from like just angry at like the possibility of him lying to her, from like being embarrassed about the fact that she wrote it to begin with.
Yeah.
Again, the like moments of clarity where she like comes to herself and she's like, oh no, this guy's lying to me. Why is he lying? I don't understand it.
But then her inner monologue, she's like, I like know him on like a level that nobody else knows. I'm thinking about him that nobody else knows. Like,
I could teach him to read.
Oh my god! I just how did we make it through the teenage years? How did we
Jordan,
make it through?
It's so cringe. It's cringe. It's like,
oh, there's more. There is more. So he's in a band and he invites her if she wants to come see him rehearse.
Loosely.
So like Ricky's like, well, she's like, he invited me to come see him rehearse, and Ricky and Rayanne are like, oh my god, he loves you so much. I was like,
you know what? His band play? God.
While they're there and he's singing, Greg didn't hear it at first because I went, and he was like, what? I was like, the lyrics. I was like, listen. And the minute he said red, they were like, he wrote the song about you. He loves you so much. And I was like, I would have been Ricky. I'd been like, oh my god. Oh my god.
So think about
that. He was. He's like, oh, this song is about you. Like, he's just like, what?
All of the literature that you have read, all of the stories, all of the love letters, all of the Shakespeare's that you've read, no pun intended, Claire, you know, all of that, he writes a song about you is the highest of connections and love.
And this is when I started holding my breath and I was like, please don't be about another girl. Please. And I was like, this is going to break her if it's not about her. It's going to break her. It's going to destroy her. And at some point, I don't know if it was before the rehearsal or after the rehearsal, she asked him if he drinks coffee. And he says, yeah, black with cream and sugar or whatever. Or black
and then she's
sugar.
at the back.
So the next day, she's drinking coffee and I clocked it right away. And then the mom said, you drinking coffee? And I was like, she's drinking it the way that he likes
black
it.
with 3 sugars.
And then when she said it, he was like, oh my god. And I'm like, that's what we did.
Ew.
We were obsessed.
It's cringe because I know I went to their band. I went to his band practice. I hoped he wrote a song about me. I remember sitting in like the worst conditions on a folding chair in a basement to listen to horrific music that was never good. Never good.
But it was the
And
sentiment.
it was just like, you don't get it. He's an artist. He knows how to write music, and like you just don't get it. Like I understand how he feels in his soul. Okay? Okay?
Yeah. So then at breakfast, Angela blurts out, "I'm on a date, right?" And like the mom and dad are like, yeah. And they're like, but there's some ground rules. And the dad's like, yeah. And he's like, which are and like the mom's listing like, you have a curfew, we need to meet him, I need to know where you're going.
I can't. Like, she's like, he's a really important person in my life, and I really like care about him, and like that should be enough. Like that should be enough. And like it shouldn't matter. Like he's like, and it's like, girlfriend, come on. Like, your parents ask for like the bare minimum.
Oh, this also okay. So I missed a big part. What's her name? Rayanne pulled Ricky away and was like, "You're good to stay, right, by yourself." And they left Angela there with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he drove her home.
Yeah.
And she's discussing maybe he's dyslexic, and he's like, I don't really want to talk about this right now. And she tries to be sympathetic and not talk about it, but she can't help herself. And she's like, my father's brother's dyslexic, and like sometimes he just mixes up the words, and they it's kind of an interesting parallel because they get close and they kiss. And then he apologizes and he says, sorry, I interrupted you, versus the last time that he just went for it. And she was like, I was talking.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how you do it. You ease into it. And then she doesn't care that you interrupted her.
No,
and
it's
that's why
because
she drank
you
her coffee black.
Right.
With 3 sugars.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only cringe for us because we all done it. Every single one of us has done it. We all
She
did
was
it.
like doing her happy dance on the porch after he drove.
Oh my gosh.
She nailed the guy that she's like been longing for like this whole time, and it feels like it's going somewhere. So like I kind of feel like give her that. Like everything just felt so like, oh God, because
yeah.
I'm always like, girl, get out of there. It's never gonna last. You're never gonna be that good. I promise you.
So Danielle gets in on this whole I could date conversation, and she has a crush on Brian apparently. And it's just like,
that was awkward, but
she was like, if you already met him, I don't have to bring him to meet you, right? And they're like, go to school. Like they're like not even entertaining
because
her.
they knew what she was talking about.
And I'm like, this girl needs so much therapy when she's older because they don't pay attention.
Oh my God. Well, like before that though, she like Brian comes over like randomly, and like they're talking about the whole dating thing, and like Brian's like, yo, so like what's going on? And he kind of keeps hinting at like he's trying to figure out why Angela is like talking about dating or talking about going on dates or something like that, and he's putting it together. And in the meantime, Danielle's like, so Brian, hi Brian.
Hi
Brian, you like band? Are you in a band? Oh, it's because she's going to band practice. So like the parents are like, oh, thinking he's in band, but not that he's in a band.
Right.
So like Brian's not trying to tattle on Angela by like being like, oh yeah, I play saxophone. And then Danielle's like, I like to play saxophone. Teach me how to play saxophone, Brian.
You want Girl Scout cookies? Do you want Girl Scout cookies? Do you want Girl Scout cookies?
Oh, the girl is laying it on.
Like, your place or mine?
Legit.
I can't. Like seriously. And like, so she was going, like she was into it, begs him to teach her. And that's what ends up happening. He comes over and like and Angela is going on the date, and Brian and her have like a fight basically about it because he's like, "Oh, what are you guys, girlfriend, boyfriend now?" Blah 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 blah, and it's like, "No."
Was it? Oh, throughout this whole episode, the mom thought she might be pregnant.
Yeah.
She's gaining weight. She's having all these cravings. Her friend's like, you could be in like premenopause and that could last like 10 years. And then she's like, I'm only 40. And I'm like, that's a little young for premenopause, I feel like.
Well, we know a little bit more. That's kind of when it starts.
Is it? Yeah.
Not like when it starts.
It's the very, very beginning. It's like the very, very beginning. So like you could get hot flashes or like
skip a period for somebody who's been totally regular for your whole entire life. That you're skipping one period. You might not skip another period for another 6 months. Not that I know what I'm talking about because I don't know anything. But I have a lot of older women that are around me, and I am very sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, my mom's been kind of premenopausal forever, so she's been all over the place.
So her friend, who I still believe is Sharon's mom at this, is basically like, you're too young for menopause, like you're only 40. And then when she brings up the fact that maybe she's pregnant, she's like, you're too old. Like it's like she like flips it.
which is really, and please, I am not speaking for women at all. I'm just talking about ageism and ageism on how, you know, in one hand, you're too old to be that, but then at the same hand, you're too young to be that. It really is like she's at this 40, and then after that, it's like a weird age to be at.
It's society, because at 35, they call it a geriatric pregnancy. Like,
yeah. Well, like this is kind of like the midlife crisis moments, where like you're starting to watch, like most people by now will probably have their second kid, will be getting into like the teenage years-ish type area, depending on everything worked out. So like you're looking down the barrel of an empty nest. What are you doing with your life? You've been doing everything for the family up until this point, you know?
Yeah.
And
Greg kind of had, I don't know if it's like a real memory or if it's like a Mandela effect thing, because he's like, oh, that's right, she has like she gets pregnant, she has a baby or whatever. And I was like,
I thought so too.
And not because I know it, but I feel like maybe I saw pictures of her pregnant, and I'm like, but did I, or is it a Mandela effect?
Ask you. No, but I did ask you at one point. Like, is she pregnant in this? Does she get pregnant? And you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, why do I have a picture of my head and she's pregnant? So I just assumed she played a character in another show while she was pregnant.
Unless she gets pregnant in a few more episodes, for real.
Well,
that's what I mean.
Fucking like, all the time.
Well, why would they do a fake pregnancy just to do a real pregnancy?
Yeah. The dad isn't on board at first, but then he kind of like falls in love with the idea, and then she finds out she gets her period, and she's so happy. Like they would have dealt with it, and they would have been happy if she was pregnant, but she's kind of relieved. She's like, I can't even imagine living over with the baby, and he looks disappointed, and he's like, kind of like fell in love with the idea of having a son. And I'm like, but you don't know if it would have been a boy. Like, you have two girls, like odds are you're probably not gonna have a boy.
Like there's another, like, I mean, there was a chance, I guess. So it felt weird. It felt like, why did it need to go there? Like he could have just been excited about having a baby, not a son specifically. I don't know why we needed to be about
like,
having
when it's a girl, are you gonna like have resentment towards this baby because it wasn't the son that
you wanted?
No, he's a good dad.
Yeah, but like, what, I just don't know why the writers needed to put that in. Like, it's kind of one of those scenarios where it's just like, it's not necessary. It's not integral to the plot. Like, is it really that big of a deal?
They needed to give the adults something to do.
It wasn't necessary, but it was of the times.
I
guess so. Yeah. I mean, I know that's like there was always a thing where it's kind of like, oh, are you hoping for a girl this time, or are you hoping for a boy this time? Whichever one you may not have at that time. It's like, oh, you can just have the whole experience. Like, you know what it's like to raise girls, but now you know what it likes to raise boys. But it's kind of like a healthy human life, right? Like, no matter what.
So Ricky knows Jordan's class schedule. And he tells Angela where he'll be at a certain time. He's like, he's like, he never skips shop. He's like, I know I used to pass him every day or whatever. And she kind of, I think she knows what's going on because she thanks him and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. And he's kind of like, yeah, I know. It's a pitiful straight boy crush. Like, so she like waits outside like his classroom and she's like rehearsing how she's gonna like ask him to ask her out.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
But with that being said, she had some set of ovaries because she went with it. Like she like invited herself. She classified it as a date. She got it.
Yeah, she said there's a movie that she's seen that's good, but she'd see it again if he'd want to see it. And then he's kind of like, oh, like he picks up on what she's getting. And she's like, the thing is, my parents want to meet you first. So then he's kind of like, oh, okay. So she's like, anytime from 7:30 on. So she kind of keeps it loose, like 7:30-ish. If he can do it. So I didn't feel like it was like a solid plan. And
it was not only was it a solid plan to her, it was a solid plan. They were married. The kids' names were picked. Okay,
probably.
Am I wrong?
It feels like yes, it's a solid plan, definitely to her, but like with eyes that have been through many a thing of the similar nature, it definitely was not. You know what I mean? Like I can be her and then know like on the outside that it's not because of his body language, the way he was vibing, like it was all like, sure. And then like, you know what I mean? It's already weirdly vague in nowadays with that stuff. Like people will literally confirm in text that they'll show up and then not show up. So it's kind of like you only know that like being stood up by many, many, many people, like for very, very long periods of your life. So, but for her, it was real.
Yeah.
100% real.
So he's at rehearsal with his band and there's like a party that they're all going to. And he's like, oh, there's a thing I have to do. So I was like, oh, he's going to do the right thing. That's nice. And then he kind of lingered too long. I was like, right? Like I was like, you're going to do the right thing, right?
Do the thing, Jordan. Don't be a dick.
And like it ends up with like Angela sitting on the couch with her parents waiting for him to show up and he like no shows. And I was just like, ugh, that sucks. Yeah. After she fought with Brian because he's all like, what are you like dating him now? And she's like, why do you care?
What do you care?
Exactly. Like, well, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like she's playing dumb. Like she knows why Brian's upset. Like she has to know. She just doesn't want to deal with it because he's also being very pushy. I mean, like the fact that he's like rolling up, trying to find out what's going on in her life when he has no right to know what's going on in her life, kind of is giving very, stalkery vibes. And poor Danielle, she's just trying to get hers, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, no thanks. I like your sister, and you're also a young child.
So the next day at school, she literally was like, I hate him. And then she saw him and she was like walking down the hall and she was just like,
yeah.
But then she like walks away in a huff and Ricky tells Jordan she's pissed at you. And he's just like, why? He's like it wasn't a solid plan. And then he was like, well, like you did write that song about her. And he was like, this is where we find out. He wrote it about his red car. And I was just like, I literally said to Greg, I was like, he can never tell her that ever. That will destroy her.
I feel like that's going to be ammo in a fight. Like somebody's going to say
no, I actually was thinking about it today. And I think it might be better if Ricky tells her. Because if she ever has one of her blowouts where she's yelling at Jordan and she says, you wrote that song about me. And he goes, no, I didn't. I wrote it about my car. She's going to feel so stupid. So it's almost like it's better if Ricky kind of tells her and she's not as embarrassed. Like either way, it's going to be embarrassing, but less if Ricky tells her.
I mean, like, it's always like, it's just like Jordan's showing you who he is. Believe him. That's always what I want to tell everyone. Be like, He's not faking.
Don't huff and puff when she just said that and you look at me. I showed you everything, love. I'm still just disappointed that I don't have a brand new TV within 6 hours.
Oh, here we go. You better get that boy a damn TV.
You're more my TV, bro. My TV. That was a present
that I purchased for you.
I know.
Don't worry, we'll get a new one tomorrow.
I was gonna say, I think you guys will survive this.
I know. I literally was like, watch the shows on your tablet. Like, it'll be fine. So yeah, that was pretty much it. The mom's not pregnant. We found out that it was about his car, and he got me too. I was in the teenage mind frame. I was like, oh my god, he wrote the song about it. He loves you so much. But I also was holding my breath because I knew that it wasn't true. Like something was gonna.
Yeah.
I think I even said out loud, please don't be with another girl. Please don't be with another girl. Like, and totally break her heart. But then when he kissed her, and I was like, okay, like he was getting me, and I hate that I fell for it.
Well, you're the people that Jordan wants to convince. He's the one. He plays the aloof. That's why, like, the whole thing with the teacher in the previous episode, like, works so well, because it's exactly what Jordan does. He pretends like he doesn't care when he actually cares, like, a lot. Like, every single time that, like, Angela plays it off, like, I actually have nothing to do with you, or she gives him a reaction that is not what he anticipates it to be. Like, she answers his question, or, like, you know, asks him about his life in some way that, like, probably nobody else does. He's like, he's in. But then as soon as she falls back into that tween, obsessive girliness, like kind of how she was in a way, like asking him out on a date, you know, like expecting him to be something different, he pulls her back because he doesn't want that. He wants the mysterious, I don't understand why she's not into me, like when everybody's into me, girl. And she can't play that forever at all. She's too obsessed. So
the next day the mom brings her a tub of ice cream and was like, she's like, don't try to cheer me up, but leave the ice cream. And the mom's just like sitting and like talking to her, and
mom has a moment and
she says, you know, I thought I might be pregnant, and that makes Angela like hysterically laugh. So she cheered her up. But she's hysterically laughing so rudely because it's like, you don't have sex, like you've never had sex, like I was immaculately conceived, like you don't do that, like just the thought of it is too hysterical for her. Like, you pregnant?
I need, you know what I need? I need a series set in today of Angela quite literally thinking about all the horrific things she said and did to her parents.
Or having it done to her by her daughter. And being like, fuck.
Yes. Yes. I need to buy
mom sitting at the dining room table smoking a cigarette with the coffee black, 3 sugars.
Yeah, 3 sugars. And like and I want the whole story to be quite literally a slow reveal about like where everybody's at from this show, like what happened between her and Jordan, where her parents, like her sister, like all that stuff just slowly trickled in, probably through maybe the POV of either, I guess, Angela again, because we keep out of her head, but that's what I would want. I wanted her to be embarrassed about all the things that she said and did as a teenager.
So Angela goes outside and she's playing. Oh, the dad is like playing catch with
the
daughter, and then Brian steps in and he's like, "Oh, I'll give you those lessons you wanted." And Danielle's like, "No," she's like over it. She's like, "Nope," and she like walks away. So then he starts playing catch.
Ship is sailed, Brian.
So Brian and the dad start playing catch, and then the mom and Angela come outside and they're both like, why is dad playing with Brian? Even the mom's like, ew. But so I had this thought. I think we were led to believe that Angela's parents went to high school together and the mom was popular and pretty. I don't know if they dated in high school, but they definitely went to school together. And I'm wondering if the dad is the mom's Brian. Like she married her Brian.
Oh, Absolutely, yes. Because like they made so like when so like in the very first couple episodes, I think it was like episode 2 or episode 1, like he literally said, he's like, oh, she wouldn't even give me the time of day, because they were talking about how like I guess like Sharon and Angela kind of split up or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, she was like in a different stratosphere than me in high school. She didn't even look at me until college, and then we, you know, got together.
Okay.
And then especially with like the modeling episode, she was obsessing about how pretty she was, and she wished she knew how pretty she was when she was that pretty.
Right.
Like she's like, and I could appreciate
Amen, girl.
like how.
Amen.
Yeah. So definitely, 100%.
And Angela, the dad gives Angela the glove so she could throw the ball with Brian, and she's like, I do not want to talk about Jordan. And he's like, okay. He's like, so what happened? And she's just like, you're just so annoying. Like, she's like, one day, like, it'll happen to you and you'll understand. And you just like see the longing he has for her.
No, but oh my God, she really, again, I'm sorry, Claire. She's like, one day it'll happen to you.
That Claire Danes, she knows what she's doing. It makes me wonder, like, if she had.
She does this thing where she, like, you know, she's about to burst into tears, and you just see it welling up, and her voice cracks. But it's done so naturally. You're just like, oh, you believe that she's actually feeling all these feelings.
It feels very like all of the casting is really good, because I feel like the parents are actually really well casted too. They really act like the whole set is very natural, like to what life was kind of like at that time, or what teenage life is like. How your friends could just be weirdly backstabby, but you like forgive them because you need the social structure, otherwise to remain like in the hierarchy, you know, because like if you walk away, you're basically going to be down here when you really need to be here to like at least get to the, you know what I mean? And like guys are dumb, really dumb and mean, and like you keep going along with it because again, it's like the social structure you want to maintain. And there's just, you know, and your parents trying so hard. Like that's all I keep seeing while I'm watching this show. And I feel like it's because I'm an adult that I keep thinking to myself, God, these parents are doing everything they can to be understanding and chill.
Grace, like you said.
Going back to that social hierarchy thing, there was a scene I wanted to mention that I didn't earlier when Sharon and Rayanne were talking in the bathroom. Angela comes rushing in to tell them about the teacher, not the teacher, about them taking the lit mag away. And you kind of see Angela be like, and they kind of pull away, like, we weren't talking, we don't talk to each other, like,
yeah, right.
And Angela was just kind of like,
yeah. This show reminds me about how much I cared about like the dumbest stuff, you know, like in reality, like how,
even like a few episodes ago when Angela was talking to Sharon in the bathroom and Rayanne came in, she's like, if you want to be friends with her again, you can. She's like, I don't.
And like in some way, like and like saying that just because she thinks like she kind of wants to bait Angela into like, you know, going for it, and then ultimately it will turn into a thing. Like at the end, they want to. It's all pretense to be mature, but in reality, they're not mature at all. They're just going off of base instinct. And when I think back on it, I'm like, I was obsessed with like maintaining a certain level of amount of friends, having like a top 8 or whatever. Like dumb stuff like that like felt like the end of the world, the end of the world, the end. And it's like, why did I care? Like it makes no sense. Like also like what type of music you listen to, like it had to be very specific, like your style, the whole 9 yards.
Well, my takeaway from all that was like, I have the hope that maybe they'll be secret best friends, Rayanne and Sharon.
Me too. Well, it makes me believe that like outside of this, once we get beyond, it's like the hope, like once they're beyond high school and they can actually mature and like live their lives, that when they see each other again, that they'll be able to maybe actually be friends.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, there was a connection there at some point.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this very fun episode of My So-Called Life. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.
I understand him. I love him.